Muy buenos días a todos y todas.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this second edition, second session of the third day of Poverty Stoplight Innovation Week, or the Week of Innovation of the Stoplight. Is a joy to join us together into this space that allow us to share ideas, experiences, and learning through the Poverty Stoplight. Before starting, we remind you that this session has simultaneous interpretation available in English and Spanish. Please do use it. To activate, please click on the interpretation icon in the Zoom toolbar and select your preferred language, English or Spanish.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. We'd really like to give you a very warm welcome to the second session of this third day of the Poverty Stoplight Innovation Week. We are extremely happy to come together once again in this space to share ideas, experiences, and learnings around the Poverty Stoplight. Before we begin, we would like to remind everyone that simultaneous translation in Spanish and English is available. So all you have to do is look at your Zoom toolbar at the bottom of your screen and find the interpretation icon where you'll be able to choose English or Spanish, depending on the language that you would like to hear. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Luis Fernando Sanabria, Chief Operations Officer of the Fundación Paraguaya. Y ahora quisiera, con muchísimo gusto,
Now, with a pleasure, I would like to introduce Mr. Luis Fernando Sanabria, Chief Operation Officer of the Fundación Paraguaya. Luis Fernando, you have the microphone. Thank you, Julia. Good afternoon, good night, good morning, from wherever you are. It's a pleasure for me to be here with the engineer Raúl Gauto. He is a great social leader and business leader globally. We shared a lot of years together, Raúl, a lot of work, years of work, learning, and as well we have some bads because that's what life it is. So Raúl, as an introduction, she is an agronomist engineering with forestry specialization at the National University of Asunción. He has a Master of Science from the Polytechnic University of Virginia, USA, in forestry economy and management of resources. He started his career in the forestry area as a resident engineer for a reforestation program for Contapart, with a program for the planting of pines and as well for the wood in forestry area. And then after his studies, he lead the Fundación Moisés Bertoni. He was in charge of the board for 10 years. We still have a link with the Paraguayan Foundation. The foundation created the first national natural reserve, that is the Maracayú Forest. This is the largest private forest reserve in Paraguay, the biggest in the oriental region of the country, with 6,500,000 hectares protected. And he dedicates 18 years of his life to promote the entrepreneurship with the Fundación Avina, working in topics about water access in countries in this region, as well in the installation of the Social Progress Index, and he was a director for Global Alliance for Water, and he is working in 4 prioritized countries for Africa. Actually now he is the president of Forestal Sylvis. From 16 years, is working in this company to reference Paraguayan, and as well he is the president of the biocomplex Petricorp. So he's dedicated into the industry of the woods. So yes, this is great to greet everyone. Good afternoon, good day. And this gives us a great idea. What is the word actually? It's a complex word, interesting. And I'm very happy to be here in my alma mater from learning, that is the Fundación Paraguaya. Your biography, writing has 2 problems. First, It's very summarized. And second, we have a lot of letters in your background. It has something important, but it does not have the soul of yourselves. Can you explain your life from the emotion, not only from the different initiatives that you propose?
Bueno, con mucho gusto.
Yes,
No
it's a
hay tanto
pleasure.
tampoco. Debo decir que
I
he
must
sido muy
say that
afortunado.
I have been
Anoche
very
pensando un
lucky.
poco en esta entrevista y con algunas
I was thinking about
preguntas
this
que me
interview
habían
last night
adelantado,
and
pensaba y
some
decía yo,
questions
qué
that you
fácil
sent
es
to
la
me, and I
vida
thought, how easy
cuando
it's
vos ya
life
tenés el
when you
domingo, ya
have
tenés el diario del
on
lunes.
Sunday
¿Qué quiere
the
decir? Es
news
fácil cuando
from
vos analizás las cosas del domingo con el
Monday.
diario del
So
lunes,
it's
¿verdad?
easy to analyze
Yo
the
tuve a
things
mi
on
papá
Sunday when you have the
que
news from the
fue mi
Monday.
diario del lunes.
Well, my father
¿Y por
was
qué digo
my
esto?
Monday
Papá
newspaper.
es un
Why don't I
hombre que
say
cultivó
this?
mucho
Because my
jardín.
father is a person
Yo digo
who
siempre,
has a
salvó
lot of
muchas
friends,
vidas, creó muchas
and I
cooperativas en el
say
campo
he
del Paraguay.
saved a lot
Y
of
siempre fue
life.
un
He
hombre que no
created a
tuvo
lot of
muchos medios
cooperatives in the
económicos,
Paraguay
materiales, pero siempre
countryside. He was a man that
un
does
hombre
not have a
que
lot of material
hoy
of
día tiene
economic
95
resources, but
años,
he was
ciertamente
a
está un poco
happy man.
apagado,
He is a
pero
man
él
now.
hasta el
He
último
is
momento de su
95
vida
years old,
cultivó la amistad
but
que
he's kind of
ayudó a todo el
down right
mundo
now. But
sin esperar
until the
nada.
last
Y yo
breath
dije, bueno, ese es mi diario del
and
lunes.
of his life, he
Entonces, si puedo yo
always
resumir mi vida, fue una
cultivated
vida
friendship and helped
deportiva,
everyone without
porque
spending
tuve
waiting
ese
anything in
padre, esa
return.
madre
So
que me
that's
mostraron
my summary. That's the
que
summary of my
trabajar por
life,
los
that I
demás
was
es
having a
más
very lucky life
satisfactorio que ganar
because I
mucho dinero.
have the father
Entonces,
and
toda
the
mi vida estuvo
mother.
marcado
They
por
show
esto.
me how
Y
satisfactory it
cuando vos
is,
decís, por
not
ejemplo, las
only
cosas que
winning money,
logramos,
but
y
to
Fernando, como la
have
reserva en
uh,
Baracayú, que
a goal in
ciertamente
life. As I repeat,
una
there
reserva
are things that
importante.
we
Sin
achieve,
embargo, fue
like the
hecho en
Maracayú
grupo.
Reserve, that is
Yo
a
tuve la
very
suerte de ser un
important
poquito
forest reserve, but it
digamos,
was done. This was created into a group.
agrupar a la gente,
I
pero hasta ahí
I
nomás.
have the lucky to gather people to coordinate that reserve. So that reserve was advanced for their times in many senses, right? I heard that I was not being able to participate into this project, but it was an effort to gather interests and egos or changing processes, laws. Which one were the elements of the leadership to manage all of the things that was on air, and then it transformed to the project of the
Creo que hay
Maracayú Reserve?
2 o 3 elementos, Luis Fernando.
Well, I think we have
La
one
reserva en
or
Baracayú
2 or 3 elements. Luis
se
Fernando, as you
anticipó en
said,
algún
the
momento a su
Maracayú
tiempo.
Reserve was something
Y debo recordar
very advanced for their time. So
qué es la reserva. Bueno,
please explain
la
what is
reserva
the
en
Reserva en
Baracayú es un
Maracayú.
bosque
It's a wood,
natural,
a natural
prístino,
wood of forest
muy
reserve,
maduro, pero
pristine,
muy
very
intacto,
well mature, and
que
it
está
is
en la
still
zona
intact.
noreste de la
That is
región
in the
oriental del
northeast
Paraguay,
area
bordeando
of
la
the
frontera
oriental
con
region
Brasil.
of Paraguay with the
¿Por qué esa
frontier
reserva?
with Brazil.
Nosotros,
Why
yo
we
volví de
create this
Estados Unidos
national
con un
reserve? I
contratito
came back from
con The
United States
Nature
with a
Conservancy
contract with
para
Nature
revisar las
Conservancy
75 áreas más
to regularize
importantes para la
the
biodiversidad o la
most
conservación de
important
la
areas for
biodiversidad
the
en Paraguay.
biodiversity
En
of
2 años
Paraguay.
recorrimos
In
esas
2 years, we
75
covered
áreas
that
y les
75
pusimos un
areas,
ranking
and
con
we created
24
a
variables
ranking or score with
diferentes.
24 different
Accesibilidad
variables,
de caminos,
uh,
quién eran los
routes
dueños, si
accessibility, who
había
were the
ahí
owners of the land,
biología de
if
pájaros, si
you
había
have
ahí comunidades
biology,
indígenas y todo
birds,
eso.
preservation,
Y
if
en el
there
ranking
were
salió
indigenous
esta zona del
communities.
Paraguay
And in the
como el área que
ranking, we can see
había
this
que
zone of
conservar.
Paraguay like the
¿Por qué?
area
Porque
that
era el
we
arca de
need
Noé
to
del
preserve.
Paraguay.
Why? Because it was like the
Entonces,
Noe Ark in
iniciamos la
Paraguay.
tarea
So we start this
de
job
juntar esfuerzos para
to
hacer una
join
reserva
force
allí con un
to
montón de
create this reserve in there
dificultades,
with a
porque
lot of
estábamos todavía en la
difficulties.
dictadura
because we were into the time of dictatorship. Paraguay have 34 years of a very strong dictator, and one of the biggest fear was for us to buy this preservation, and then it may come a general, a military person, and he takes this land as his own, and we will not have the defense if they want to take 10,000 hectares. So it was a time where the international bodies as well promoted deforestation. Well, the salt farm woods was an inactive land because everything was the adoration for the agricultural, the cattle. So that situation. And I'm very glad to say that those different elements, that energy that was around in the environment, I remember that I say to and the Esteban Burr, Esteban, how are we gonna do to allow to avoid that the military comes and take for 5 or 10,000 hectares, because we were committing ourselves from in the international world. They were giving us the resources, monetary resources, purchase the land, and so we need to take care of this. So Esteban said to me, I think about that also. Let's invite United Nations. It was the resident representative of the UN, Hans Kurt, a German man. He was very interesting, kind of crazy like us, but he consulted to New York, to the AP and UDC, and if we can involve the United Nations into this project. And I think that in New York, they were very concerned as well, because they say, yes, why the United Nations are being part of this small reserve and a small country with a dictator? But United Nations say to us, yes. And today, UN is the president of the honorary council from the Maracayú Forest Reserve. So they are being the board of body of the government of this Maracayú Reserve and give them this international protection. Casually, this afternoon at 3, we have the meeting of the council. So these are things that are floating around, and we need to be very in the front, and we need to take that audacity and not consider that it was impossible. We were very young on that time, and our approach was, if they say to us, no, we're gonna do it, doesn't matter. So we go ahead into this, and all the stars align. We have the Google State, and everything of this helps to consolidate this project, because it was part of an international agenda that the new government that was installed in Paraguay wants to promote with the embassy of United States. After the Google talk, we have this project. So how did you buy this reserve? Where you are right, the institutional and legal engineer was fundamental. When we detect that this NOAR, we talk with Conservancy Nature on USA, and we said to them, we need the support to conserve. This is a jewel from the nature. So we start a process for funding to buy these lands, and then Alan Randall was a very ahead on his time forestry person. He said, why don't we try to sell the carbon that it is in Maracayú? We talked with a North American company that is called
no recuerdo ahora bien, voy a recordar enseguida el nombre, pero
yes, I don't remember what it was the name, but Apply Energy Service. AES, Roger Sand. And we sell the idea that they can mitigate their carbon footprint
electricidad que tenían en
with
Hawái,
an electricity factory that they have in
carbón de
Paraguay,
Maracaybo.
by the
Y así
carbon from
medimos
the
el
reserve of Maracaybo.
contenido de
So we
carbono de
measure the
65.000
content of the
hectáreas
carbon
con
of
la
these
ayuda de la
65,000
profesora Brown de la Universidad de Michigan.
hectares
Y
with the
bueno,
help
en
of the Professor Brown from the Michigan
1991,
University. And in
cuando todavía no se
1991,
hablaba de carbono en el mundo,
when the
recuerden
word
que la
carbon
Convención de
was
Kioto,
not
cuando se estableció
around
los
the world
mecanismos
yet,
de carbono,
and
fue en
remember we have the Kyoto
1995.
Convention where we
Entonces,
established
5
the
años antes,
carbon
ya
mechanisms
nosotros
from
estábamos vendiendo
95.
carbono, entre
So in
comillas,
these
a
5
esa
years,
empresa
we were
AES
selling
Corporation.
carbon to that
Ellos
corporation,
donaron $2 millones
AES. They
para la
give
compra de
us
la
$2
reserva.
million.
500
So they
mil
donate
para la compra
for the
y
purchase of this
1,5
reserve,
millones para la
500,000 for the
ingeniería
purchase,
financiera a
and
favor de la comunidad. ¿Qué pasó?
1.5
Ellos nos dijeron
millions for the
1,5 millones le
financial
vamos a dar
engineering.
como
So
fondo
what
de
happened?
fideicomiso.
We will give you
Pero
this
fueron
as a
tan
trust,
hábiles que nos dijeron,
but
le vamos a
they
transferir
were very
150 mil
clever and they
dólares
say
por
to us,
año.
we will
Si se portan bien.
transfer for you
¿Ok? Entonces nosotros teníamos unos
$150,000 per
unos
year if you
hitos
are good
que
behaving.
teníamos que
So we have some
lograr cada
parameters,
año
we
para
have
que nos
some
dieran los otros
milestone to
150
achieve
mil.
every
Y
year to
eventualmente
obtain
los
the
cumplimos
funds
todos
every year.
con
And
una
eventually we
excelente
fulfill all of
satisfacción y
these
ellos nos
with a
dieron
great
1,5
satisfaction. And they give us
millones
the
durante
1.5
10 años
million
y
of
fueron
US
tan
dollar
gentiles
during
que
10 years.
todo
And
el
they were
dinero que
so
se había
kind
ido
that all
acumulando
the
en esos
money
10
that
años
was
como intereses de
accumulated
esa
in these
plata
10 years
también
as
nos tocó.
interest of that money in the bank,
Ese
this
fondo de
as well
fideicomiso que
transfers
comenzó
that
con
to
1,5
us.
millones
The
de
trust
dólares,
funds that
hoy
start with
día
$1.5 million
monta a 8 millones de
now
dólares.
is
Fue
they
construyendo.
have a value of
Así que
$8
bueno,
million.
quiero decirle simplemente la
So
ingeniería
I
institucional
said that
jurídica
the
fue
institutional
fundamental para la
legal
reserva y la
engineering
ingeniería
was fundamental to create the
económico-financiera, como
reserve,
bien
and the
dijiste vos,
economical or
es
financial
otro
engineer
aspecto fundamental
is
de esta
other
construcción
fundamental
de la
aspect for
Y
this
eso
cause.
pone sobre la mesa
And
otro
this
concepto nuevo
put on
para
the
la
table
época, el concepto
another
de
new
empresa
concept
social.
for that time, the concept of
Porque
social enterprises.
en aquel entonces solo
Because
habían
back then you only
entidades
have
de caridad y empresas privadas. Esta es
charity
una
entities
de las
and
primeras
private
organizaciones que utilizan
companies. This is the
conceptos
first
sofisticados,
organization
financieros
that use
sofisticados
these
para lograr un fin social,
sophisticated
¿verdad?
concepts
Sí,
in the
yo
financial
debo
area to
decir
achieve
también,
a social
Fernando,
goal,
que
right? Yes, I must
muchas
say
de estas
as
ideas,
well,
como
Fernando, many of
las
these
mencioné,
ideas, as you mentioned,
se empezaron a acuñar
start
en el
to
Eisenhower
take in
Fellowship,
the
que fue un
Eisenhower
fellowship que a mí
Fellowship.
me
That was
marcó
a
la vida, ¿no?
fellowship that was truly
Porque
important in my life.
estamos hablando
Why?
de
We're talking about
1989, 2 años después que
1989,
la Comisión
2
Brundtland
years later that the
acuñó el
Brundtland
concepto de
Commission
desarrollo sostenible,
take the concept of
que
sustainable
escribieron un libro,
development.
las mentes más brillantes,
They
y
write a
con
book, the brilliant
el
minds
Eisenhower
write this book,
Fellowship,
and with the
a mí me tocó
Eisenhower
estar 3
Fellowship,
meses en Estados Unidos,
I was 3 months living in the
entrevistándome
United
con las
States, and I
30
was
mentes más
interviewed with the
avanzadas del
30
mundo
more
en
advanced
este concepto del
minds in
desarrollo
the
sostenible.
world to have
Entonces, cuando
this
yo volví de
concept
Estados
of
Unidos,
sustainable
vine con
development.
ese
So when I
pensamiento de que
came
ya no
back from
estamos
United
hablando de
States,
áreas
I
protegidas,
think to myself, this
porque
is not only
protegidas contra quién
protected
o de quién,
areas,
más bien era el
protected
tema de
against who,
hay que
but
proteger
it was
la reserva,
that
pero
we need to protect
también
this natural
su
reserve,
ambiente
but as
circundante, o sea,
well
las
the
familias que viven
environment
alrededor de esta
around
reserva.
this area, the
Porque la
families
única
that
manera de
live
proteger una
around
reserva
this national
en el
reserve
largo
for
plazo
park.
es que la
Because the only way to
gente
protect
que está
this in a
alrededor
long
viva
term,
mejor.
it is that the people who are
Y hoy día,
around
mediante
have
eso
a
y con la
better
ayuda de
life.
Martin
And
Burr,
that with the help of
hicimos una
Martin Burr,
escuela que es la que está
we
dando educación a
created
los
a
hijas
school
de las
that is
familias más
providing
humildes
education
que
to
viven
the
alrededor de la
sons
reserva,
and daughters of the
en el pensamiento que
humble
en el largo
families that
plazo
live around this reserve.
la única
And in the long
defensa de
term,
la
the
reserva es
unique
combatir la
defense of
pobreza.
this reserve is to fight the poverty.
Y el consejo de la Fundación Bertoni
And the Fundación
seguía
Bertoni
a
Council
esa
was
línea
very faithful
de empresa social,
to
también
that
incorporó
social
emprendedores,
company
emprendedores
line.
sociales, también
They as
empresarios del
well
sector privado,
incorporate
¿verdad?
Sí,
entrepreneurs, social
entramos un
entrepreneurs,
poco en la línea de una
businessmen in the private sector,
organización,
right? Yes,
como bien
we
dijiste,
enter
antes se
into
conocían en
a
Paraguay
line of
solamente
organization. As you said
las
before, in
organizaciones de
Paraguay, we
caridad,
only have the
muchas de ellas
charity
muy
organizations.
valiosas ciertamente,
Many
sin
of
embargo no
them
tenían
very
conceptos
valuable, but
puramente
it
de
was a
caridad.
concept that
Nosotros
is
instauramos un sistema
completed
más
by
empresarial.
charity. So
Yo
we
pienso que la
install a
Fundación Paraguaya
most
es
business
un buen
system.
ejemplo
I
de lo
think
que
that
es
the
una
Fundación
organización
Paraguaya is a great
empresarial,
example
social,
from a social business system, and the Fundación Bertoni worked after 2 years copying the same model with the same philosophical principles, and we create an organization that have the same control tools as a private company. And the only thing different from the private company to the Fundación Paraguaya or Fundación Bertoni, it is that we are not distributing
para poder hacer
the
actividades de carácter
we
social,
are
sostenible,
not
de
organization
largo
with a
plazo,
loss-making
y
purpose.
cada vez en mayor
So
escala.
we
única
want,
razón por la cual queremos ganar
even though we
dinero.
do not distribute the dividends, we want to earn money to be able to do activities in a long term. So this is a
Sí, señor.
internal dynamic of the
Yo
organization
pienso
that
que
make it
sí,
to
la creatividad,
flourish,
la
the
innovación son todos
creativity, the
elementos muy,
innovation.
buenos.
Yes, these are
Hay
very good
también
elements.
otros elementos
And
que
we
yo
have
siempre
other
distingo,
elements that I
es
make a
que es lo que dice Bernardo todo
decision.
el
That is
paradigma
what
del
Bernardo
cuidado.
Toro said about the paradigm of the
Nosotros
care.
vivimos
We live
en una época
in
donde
times
la
where
gente adora el
people
paradigma del
love
éxito.
the paradigm of the
En
success.
cambio, nuestras organizaciones,
And
como
our
la Fundación
organizations,
Paraguaya y la
like
Bertoni,
the Fundación Paraguaya and Bertoni,
siempre están metidas dentro del paradigma del
they are
cuidado.
always
Nuestra
into the
métrica
care
de éxito
paradigms.
no
Our
se basa
success
en que
metrics
yo
are
soy el
not
mejor,
based
que yo tengo el hijo
in
más,
I am the
más
best, I
lindo, que
have the
tengo el
most
auto más
beautiful
grande, la
son, that I
casa
have
mejor
the
pintada
bigger
de la
car,
cuadra. No,
the
ese no es nuestro
best
objetivo.
house of
No
the
es
block.
el
No, this is
paradigma de
not
nuestro
our
éxito.
goal. This
El
is
éxito para
the
nosotros
paradigm
es que
of our
toda la
success.
gente
The
viva mejor,
success for us
y que
is
tenga
this,
más
that everyone
oportunidades,
live
y
better and
que se
have
sienta segura
opportunities
donde está
and
viviendo o trabajando.
feel safe
Yo
where
creo
they
que
are living or working.
esa
I think that
concepción
that
de incorporar
conception
a una empresa privada
to incorporate
el
a
paradigma
private
del cuidado
company, the
es lo
paradigm of
que
the care,
da pie
is
al
that
semáforo de eliminación
start
de la pobreza,
the
otras
Stoplight,
herramientas que estamos
poverty
usando
stoplight, and other
que son
tools
muy
that we are
rigurosas,
using that are very
pero también
rigorous
son muy
tools, but as well
cuidadosas.
is
Entonces,
very
esas son, digamos,
careful.
las cuestiones
So let's
que
say
le dan
these
para
are
mí
the
la
things that
triple línea de
give
resultados a una
the
empresa. Una
results
empresa, en este caso,
triple
Fundación
line for a
Social,
company.
es realmente una empresa que
In this
tiene esa
case,
triple línea de
is
resultados que
a company
busca
that have the
rentabilidad
triple line of
económica,
results, that they are
rentabilidad
looking for
social y rentabilidad
profitability, economic
ambiental.
profitability,
Eso
social,
es lo que
and
yo
as
creo
well
que
environmental
nos ha
profitability.
impulsado a
So
nosotros
that's
a
what I
este
believe that
trabajo por
move
40
out
años.
all drive us for these 40
Interesante.
years old
Antes de
work.
pasar a
Very
tu vida en la
interesting.
empresa
Before
privada, que por lo que me está diciendo no es
explaining
tan
your
distinta, estuviste
life in a private
18 años, si
company,
mal no recuerdo,
you were
en
18
Avina.
years in Avina.
Y allí yo también fui parte
I was
de
part
los
as well
emprendedores sociales de Avina y me imagino
for
que vos,
the
Marcelino,
entrepreneurs,
ya
social
habrás
entrepreneurs
cruzado
of
con miles
Avina,
de
and
ellos.
you have crossed with
Em,
thousands of them, right?
¿qué-
So,
¿Cuál es la diferencia entre aquellos que tuvieron
which are the
éxito,
difference among those who had
emprendedores sociales que
success,
lograron su
social
misión,
entrepreneurs that achieved their mission,
versus aquellos que fueron estrellas
versus
fugaces,
those that were
y
just
que no lo
something
lograron?
that came and
Hay
does
algo en
not
el
achieve
liderazgo que
anything?
les hace
Is there
distintos.
something in the
Sí,
leadership that
yo
makes
sí,
them different?
definitivamente. Y
Yes,
a mí
obviously.
justamente Stefan Schmidt-Heine, que era el fundador de Avina
Exactly.
y el
Stefan
financiador de
Schumann
Avina,
was the founder
me
of
dijo en una
Avina,
ocasión, no sé, en algún,
and he
sentado en
said
un
to me
banco en
once,
Buenos
we were
Aires,
sitting
creo
in
que
a
fue,
bank in
me
Buenos
dijo,
Aires,
Raúl,
and he said to me, Raúl,
podés
you
lograr
can
en tu
achieve in your
vida
life
casi todo lo
everything
que
that
te
you
propongas,
propose yourself
en la
in the
medida
measure
que no
that
quieras
you
tomar
don't want to
crédito
take the
por lo
credit of
logrado.
that for what you have
Fue una
achieved.
gran enseñanza
That's a great
y
learning. You can
contundente,
achieve
porque
everything
yo
in
me
your
doy
life
cuenta, Luis
and the
Fernando,
measure
hoy
that
en
you
día
don't
que
want to
los
take the
líderes
credit
que
for
brillaron y que son
your own.
sostenibles y
So
están
I'm thinking about
todavía
the leaders that shine, that
siendo
are
líderes,
sustainable,
son
and
los
they're
que
still
nunca
leaders
lo
are the
hicieron
ones who
para sí
never did
mismos.
that for
No estaba en
themselves.
su ADN.
It wasn't into their
Quiero ser más
DNA
grande,
that
quiero
I
ser
want to be
mejor, quiero
bigger, I'm
ser
going to
más
be the
visible, quiero
best,
estar
I
en la
want to be more
televisión. No,
visible, I want to be on
eran
TV.
personas que
No, there were
antepusieron su
people
misión
that put in front
perdón,
their
a ellos
mission,
mismos. En cambio, los otros que estaban más
and
por
others
la
that
foto,
were
que estaban más
for the
por
picture,
aparecer en la televisión,
just to appear on TV. They were shooting star, as you said, and it's very, very clearly division of this. And this is linked as well. I love what you said to me more than once. You need to drop what you have on your hands to take another thing. Yes, if not, you're gonna be able to handle other things. Yes, that's natural, right? Because I think that all of us need to first give in order to receive. And if you want to have fun in life, we have always our hands very full. And I think that we need to give away things that we already use and give to other ones. For example, a book that you have already read, and it may kind of another book. I'm a truly believer to give, and it's proof that giving provides more happiness than receiving. So the ones who provide or give are always in a higher position in the field of happiness. So I do believe into that. We need to do more than not receiving. So talking about the actual life with Forestal Sylvis and the biocomplex Petricorp, they are aiming as well to the triple line of goals. How it is different the life they are searching those goals from a company, or they are doing this from an NGO. Well, you said I was working 18 years in the Avina, strengthening social entrepreneurship. Many of them work with an NGO. And we realized that the NGOs are very good to generate good models. But it's not possible to request an NGO to have the energy or the strength to be working for 30 or 40 years. More of the NGOs, even though they are a model, they disappear because there is something that is called what they say the fatigue of the donor. So we realized that I always have comment that we need to do things that should be solved from a satellite. So the Manangatu Reserve you can see from the satellite. And if you want to do something in terms of a company, something that you want to be big to see from the space, you need to have an energy that helps them to escape. So that's the earning. The company is strong. That's the profit that the company has. They can transform the world with an informatic system, with the internet, because there is a profit behind. And the profit is not wrong. We need to promote the profit to provide creativity and to give sustainability to a social organization. That's what I thought during these 18 years in Avina. And when I decided to retire, I said, I'm gonna be now an entrepreneur or a private company. Obviously, being 18 years in Avina and understanding the triple line of result doesn't come into my mind to sell cell phones or bricks. No. I need to do something. I have already 4 kids. They were very demanding. So I need to do something that please my kids and give me to that with political credit and the good side of the world. So I think I should continue with my line. Being a forestry man, I need to do a forestry plantation system that you can see from a satellite, but it embodies the triple line of result. I want to earn money, I want to strengthen environment, and I want to do the social development at the same time. So Forestal Sylvis is this. I have a partner that is Eduardo Gonzalez, who we share 40 years of the Fundación Bertoni Foundation, and we have the same work philosophy. So Forestal Sylvis is that. And part of what Forestal Sylvis does, they do obviously, with this poverty stoplight. So what Forestal Sylvis do, sometimes it crosses social and economic in the case of the reforestation at the Cerrito School, Belén School, reforestation with indigenous communities, and as you mentioned, the implementation of the stoplight in different places. We are in the stoplight innovation with what has been your experience with the poverty stoplight? Well, I have a lot of good and a lot of with a stoplight. I'm going to start with something that really impressed me. The Paraguay Constitution, the Magnus Letter of Paraguay, that it is what summarizes the concept of a nation, of Paraguay. They have something that is called the right of the citizen to request. But perhaps any Paraguayans are used to do a petition. We ask things for under the table, we get together in unions, and we request law that can be in favor of to a one union, but this is not the concept that I'm talking about. It's not just to do a petition, but I realized this after 5 years applying this stoplight in families in the communities around the plantation. These families are getting together to do a petition to their national authorities, and they are asking for roads, they're asking for vaccines, they are asking seeds for potato. They are doing a petition. There is not just in a model, please help me because I'm poor. No, they get together, they friend themselves, and that conception, that work, that development, that community development is because the stoplight first give them power, empower them, and second, help them to think that they are not second-class citizens, and third, they're truly put an armor onto them because they have success, and that success is a threat that they realize that they can have from the democracy in Paraguay, and they went and requested authorities. That's what truly excites me about this. This is one of the most difficult indicators of the stoplight, right? That lack of civism that are in our country. So thank you very much. It's truly spectacular to hear you and make us proud of the job that this network is doing, because our audience is global stoplight. I want to say that the poverty stoplight is useful for the enterprises or companies. Why? Not only for the communities. No. Just to explain you quickly with an example, our greatest problem, Fernando, are the forestry fires. How this starts in Paraguay? People burn their garbage. So it turns out with a stoplight is an stoplight indicator. We have the handle of the garbage, and after 5 years, nobody burns the trash or the garbage around the forestry plantation, and this is a lot of money that is saving in the protection. I mean, there is a mutual benefit. I don't want to say that only the companies support communities. No, the support of the stoplight and the communities as well support to reduce the expenditure of the company and be a more viable company. And as you explained and said, when you were talking about the Maracaju woods, you need to take care of the people that is around your protection of reforestation, right? Yes, I always say this to people because there are people who are ascetic and cynical, and people say to me, why are you doing this? I don't know. Sometimes I ride at 6 p.m. with my truck, and it's very dark already here in Paraguay, and I want to arrive to a safe place in where I can drive my car. If I have a problem with my truck, it breaks, I need people to come to me, help me. So this is part of an ecosystem. This is not only, I remind the phrase of Stefan Sinac that talk about the illustrated selfish. There is a selfish, but a little bit more illustrated and more elaborated and sophisticated Stoplight.
Espectacular, espectacular. Esta
Spectacular.
semana estamos hablando mucho
This
de
week we are talking
inteligencia
a lot
artificial
about artificial
con sus pros y
intelligence,
contras.
Raúl, and with
¿Cómo
their
ves
pros
vos
and cons.
el uso de inteligencia
How
artificial
do
en
you
el
see the
campo de
use of
forestal ahora?
AI in the field that you are working in
¿Qué
right
podemos
now?
lograr y qué riesgos
What can we
tenemos?
achieve and what are
Bueno,
the risks that we face with
soy un
AI?
optimista, ¿verdad? Así como cuando se introdujo
Well, I
la
am an
computadora
optimism
cuando yo estudiaba en la
as well when the
universidad
computer
hace
was
45
started
años y
using.
todo el mundo decía, no, eso va a
45 years ago
sustituir.
at the university, people
No,
say, no, this
nos
will
ayudó a
not
todos, ¿verdad?
substitute or
Ahora
help the
todos,
work. I mean,
todos
it
somos
helps
capaces de escribir
everyone.
una
Now we
computadora.
are all
Yo creo la
able to
inteligencia
write into
artificial
a
va a ser una
computer, and I
poderosa
think that the
herramienta,
AI will be a
como yo suelo
powerful
decir,
tool, as
no
I
para
said,
que
not
trabajemos más.
to work
Yo
more.
quiero que trabajemos
I
menos.
hope that
En
we
esa
can
parte yo
work
creo mucho en
less.
la Biblia,
I
en que
believe and I truly believe
el
on
ser
the
humano a
Bible
semejanza
that
de
the
Dios
human being as
no
well
tiene
as
que ser
God
un esclavo del
should
trabajo.
not be a slave of
Yo
the
quiero que la
work.
gente tenga más tiempo
I want
libre
people to have more
para que se
free
vaya a jugar con
time
sus
to
hijos,
go and play with
o,
their
o-
kids
o pinte, ¿verdad? O juega al
or
fútbol si quiere,
paint
¿verdad? Pero
or play football if
que
they
la
want,
vida
right?
sea
But the life
más suave.
should be more
Yo
smooth or
creo en
soft
eso.
for
Y
everyone. I believe
entonces
in
la
that. And
inteligencia artificial
the
nos va a ayudar a todos
artificial
nosotros
intelligence
a
will
ser más
help
eficientes,
all of us to
a
be
hacer
more
un trabajo
efficient,
más completo.
to do a
Pero ojalá le
more
acompañemos
complete job, but
con el sentido de la
hope that we need
humanidad
to
y de la
support this
ética.
AI with a sense of
Porque
humanity and
sabemos bien
ethics,
que
because we
también la
know
inteligencia
very well
artificial puede
that the
ser
AI
utilizada como una bomba
could be
atómica,
used as an
un
atomic
arma.
bomb in a
Entonces,
wrong way.
nosotros, y
So
acabo de leer un libro que
I
se
just
llama The
read a
Calming Wave,
book that
que
is the
hablaba
Calming Wave.
mucho de lo que es
There is
contener
talking about to
la tecnología,
contain the technology, to
contener la inteligencia
contain that
artificial
technology, the
dentro de la
AI,
ética humana,
into
hacer que
the
la inteligencia
human
sea útil
ethic, to
para el ser
do that the
humano
AI should be
y
useful
no
for the human beings and not
vivir nosotros esclavos de la
leave
inteligencia
ourselves
artificial.
as a
Ese es
slave
un
of the
trabajo que tenemos
AI.
que hacer
This is
todos,
a job that we
de
need to do, all
introspección
of us. We need
y
to
de
see
definir un poco
inside
hasta
us and
dónde
to
voy a
make a
aceptar o
definition
hacia
till
dónde
how
como
far I'm
sociedad
gonna
vamos a aceptar,
accept or
por
how the
ejemplo, la
society is gonna
edición del
accept,
código genético
for
humano.
example, the addition of the genetic
No va a faltar
human
gente que va a
code. There
querer
will be no
ser
people. I mean, there will
transgresor
be
en ese
people that want
sentido
to be
y querer ya
breakers
definir
in
si
that
su hijo
sense
va a
and
ser
want to define if
de
their
ojos
kids
azules,
are gonna be
negrito,
from blue
alto y buen
eyes,
mozo
tall,
o buena moza.
and
Nosotros
good
tenemos que
looking. I mean,
reconocer que
we
somos
need
la
to
diversidad es
acknowledge that we are a
nuestra mayor
diversity.
defensa frente
That's
a la
our great
adversidad.
defense
Y creo que la
into
inteligencia artificial
diversity. And
tiene
I
que ser
think that
útil,
the
pero
AI
tiene que ser
should be
contenida
useful, but it
por
should
gente
be
inteligente y
contained
con ética.
for intelligent and ethic people.
Cuando hablábamos recién de tu
When we were
trayectoria, está
talking
como dividida
about your background
el mundo de
or
lo
your journey, it is divided
social,
in two words,
fundación,
the
ONG,
world
y el
of the
mundo de lo
social
empresarial. Y
foundation,
podemos sumar
NGOs,
los
and the
años, pero
world
más o
of
menos mitad
the
y mitad.
companies. We
¿Qué
can add
rescatarías de
the
ambos
years
mundos?
and perhaps help and have, what can you, what's
Eh,
the best,
primero,
the
yo
good thing
siempre
that you
cuando me
rescue
preguntan
from
qué hago,
both
digo, bueno,
worlds?
yo
Well,
8 horas al día trabajo con fines de
people ask to
lucro
me,
y 8
I
horas al día
work
trabajo
8
sin
hours
fines de lucro.
per day for
Entonces,
profit
no
and
sé cuál
8 hours
escalamos,
a
¿verdad?
day non-profit job.
Porque
So I
se
don't know.
mezclan mucho,
I
como
mean,
bien
it's
decía
mixed,
Fernando.
as you
A veces
said,
cuando
Luis
estoy
Fernando.
en una organización social,
When I am
me
into a
encuentro con
social
colegas
organization, I
que
can
piensan
find
igual y
colleagues
estamos
that
hablando del negocio.
think the same
Y a
as
veces
me, and we
incluso
end talking about business, and
somos socios comerciales,
sometimes
¿verdad?
we are
Y
commercial
a veces
partners,
estamos socios
and
comerciales y
sometimes
estamos hablando del
we
semáforo de
are
eliminación de
talking
la pobreza.
about
Es
the
decir,
poverty
no hay un
stoplight,
límite.
talking about that,
La
and
vida
there
de
is
uno
not
es
a limit.
integral, ¿verdad?
Your life
Entonces,
is
yo
something
particularmente me siento
integral, something
tremendamente
holistic.
cómodo,
So I
siento muy
particularly
cómodo
feel
en los
very
dos mundos
comfortable in
porque
both
no le
worlds
hago
because
distinción.
I do not make a
Yo sé que la
distinction.
ganancia
I
económica
know that
tiene que
the
ser aplicada en un
incomes
beneficio
or
social,
the
ambiental
economic
y
profits should be applied
fortalecer y
for
darle
us
sostenibilidad a la empresa.
environmental and
Y
social
lo mismo,
benefits to
una
strength as
ONG
well the
tiene
company
que manejarse
sustainability,
con
and the
los
same way
rigores de la
an
empresa,
NGO
tiene que hacer
should manage
análisis de
at the
riesgo,
same
tiene que tener
level as a
cuidado de su
company
capital
performing a
humano,
risk
al igual que
analysis.
una
They need
empresa.
to take care of their
Entonces,
human
para mí,
capital as
realmente,
well as a
después de
company.
40
So
años,
after
Fernando,
40 years
yo
with
no
Fernando,
encuentro
for
mucha
me, I
diferencia
cannot find a
entre mi
difference
vida
among
empresarial y mi
my
vida
entrepreneur or business life and my NGO life. I think it's fantastic because there are two words that are getting closer, but they are considered different, right? And it should not. Well, I want to think that I am a living example that the two worlds can be together and drive them and promote. And I was talking at the beginning of a word that was learning, and for me, people from Denton, from democracy development, show me what is teaching. Nobody just teach, and nobody learn alone. We all need to be together in this learning mechanism. So that's why the NGO should learn from businesses, and businesses should learn from the NGO. That's what I think. You're right. And during this year, you have any idea about leadership that has evolved or had changes? Your point of view? Yes, and I should say that Fernando Toro, I endowed with him. He's a Colombian philosopher and mathematician that once teach me the concept of leadership. And he said to me, the leader should be the synthesis of contradictions on the table. What does this mean? If you want to be a leader, you do not need to try to delete or erase someone that is bothering you in your table and just promoting the one that thinks like you. If you want to be a real leader, you need to care for all the interests and discuss the table interests to arriving to, I don't say a consensus, but understanding from all the table that the interest of all of the participants was here. First, they were here with an active ear, and as the ontology of language say, with the ears or the sound of the good, because the people, it's not their life, or they are not, I mean, people on the table truly understand when you are hearing there or you are not hearing or you are indifferent. If you want to be a great leader and you want to become into a proactive leader and useful for your society, you need to hear everyone with the ear of the good and try to create the synthesis of the contradictions that are around. Spectacular, very inspiring. Thank you very much. I insist they are not my idea or my concepts. I copied from Bernardo and he transformed into this. But even though the origin doesn't matter, but it's truly come to me how you explain and pull my soul. And I don't want to keep asking you, but we have some questions for the people that are connected. Julia, do you have any questions to Raúl? Of course, Fernando, I will read you. I hope that you can hear me. We have received different questions. I will try to choose one. We have a question that said, when you think about Paraguay or Latin America in 20 years from now, what gives you the most hope? Well, it gives me hopes the reduction of poverty. I was reading from 2005, over 1.5 million persons get out of poverty in the world, obviously in China and India. And as well from Brazil, we have 400 million of 400,000 people live the poverty, and that's give me illusion. Why? Because they are coming out from the poverty, but as well because they are starting to knock the table. It's fun. So moving out of poverty, you get out of hungry, but you have the appetite, let's say. And when you have the appetite, you have more demands, more requests. You are an individual that hits the democracy. So for that, for me, generates hope, because in the measure that people ask, as I said, or do a petition, I explain everything is going to be better, and also very
avance de la ciencia,
help with the advance of
que nos está
science, the advance
permitiendo
of the
vivir sanos
health
más tiempo.
science that is allowing us to
Insisto,
live
no para
longer. I
trabajar más, sino
insist
para
not to work
disfrutar más.
more, but for
Pero soy
enjoying more.
optimista de que
But
eso nos va a
I
ayudar.
am
Y la
optimistic
inteligencia
that this will
artificial
help us,
que
and
va a
AI
venir
as well,
también a
that will
contribuir
come to
a todo eso.
contribute
Así
to
que yo soy muy
everyone.
optimista
So I'm very
de que el
optimistic
mundo
that the
va a seguir
world
mejorando.
will
Y en este
continue
sentido,
improving, and in that sense,
les quiero comentar de un
I
libro
want
que se
to
llama
mention about a book that is called
Factualidad, le llaman en español, pero se llama
Factuality,
realmente Factfulness.
Factfulness.
Es de un
In English,
señor sueco.
is from a
Es un libro
Swedish
espectacular. Se
man.
llama
It's a
Factfulness.
spectacular
Búsquenlo
book that is
porque le
called
va a dar una mirada del
Factfulness,
mundo
because it will
con
give you
datos
a different point of
que le
view
va
with the
a
world, with
transformar.
that the
Van a
will
creer que el
transform
mundo
you. You're gonna believe that
está
the
mejor de
world
lo que
is
nosotros
better
percibimos
than
por una
we
serie de razones.
actually perceive for
Seguro, seguro.
a series of
Entonces, es
reasons.
bueno que suban la exigencia
So
del
it's good
mundo, porque
to
si no
rise the
todos,
level of the demand in the world
los pobres de
so
hoy,
everyone
quizás
can go
hace
up.
200 años eran
Perhaps
clase
the
media,
poor for now,
Es correcto.
and
muy sano y
200
saludable que
years ago
todos los
they were
jóvenes
middle
quieran tener
class.
internet, que
But
todos
it's
quieran
very
tener
healthy
un
that all
teléfono,
the
porque
young people want
la
to have
calidad de
access to
vida de cada persona
internet,
es
to
lo
have
que
a
al final
smartphone, because the quality of life of each person is
Está bien.
what truly
¿Alguna
matters.
otra pregunta?
Julia.
Okay, let's see another question. So we're gonna do the possible to ask all of the question, but Luther Agüero said how to lead such different generation from the youngest to the most experienced employees.
Es la misma cosa que le dije.
It's the
Son
same, but
simplemente
I
intereses
said
distintos.
there are different
Hay
interests.
que liderar de la
It's
misma
just,
manera. Hay que
you need
escuchar
to
a los
lead the
niños, hay que
same
escuchar a los
way. You
empleados
need to
nuevos, hay
hear
que
the kids,
escuchar
the new
a todo el mundo,
employers. You need
¿verdad?
to hear
Y a veces van a escuchar
of the most
algunos,
experienced, and sometimes
no
you're
te
gonna
gusta mucho,
hear
pero
of
de
an
eso
opinion
se
that you
trata
don't
el
like,
tema, de
do
escuchar a
not,
todo el mundo.
you don't like, but that's the thing, to hear everyone. We have another question with Fernando, and this is more personal, and there is someone asking on a word, Raúl, if you can talk again with the Raúl of 25 years old, will you recommend them to go in the same journey or path
Sí,
of what you
recorrería el mismo
recommend to your
camino,
past you? Yes, I will go for the
recorrería, pero
same
sería más
journey,
cuidadoso con las
but I will be
personas.
more carefully with
Eso sí les
people.
quiero decir.
I want to say
Nunca
that
se van a arrepentir de
never,
haber
you're
sido
never gonna regret
cuidadosos
to
con las
be
personas.
a person that
Entonces,
take care of
dediquémosle
others.
tiempo a eso.
So dedicate time
Yo
to this.
aprendí en un
I learned
curso de
in
manejo
a
del
course,
tiempo que
on
uno
a
se
workshop
levanta
about
todos los
the
días
time management, that you
y
wake up every day
elige 3
and
cosas
you
que tienen que
choose
hacer en ese
3
día.
things to do
Hay que tener
during
esa
that day.
disciplina, hacer
We need
3
to have
cosas.
that discipline,
Pero
3
después, todo el
things.
día tiene que
But
dedicarse uno a
after the
defender
whole
esa
day, you
agenda
need
de
to
3
dedicate to
temas.
defend that agenda
Porque
of the
los
3
otros también
topics,
se
because
levantaron, se
the
despertaron
other
y
Israeli
hicieron su
wake up
agenda
and they
y
have their own
metieron a mí en su
agenda,
agenda.
and they
Entonces,
include me
cuidado,
in their agenda.
uno
So
tiene
be
que ser
careful.
atento con la
You
agenda de uno
need
mismo, porque el
to
primer cuidado,
take care
el
of
paradigma del
our
cuidado dice
own
que el primer
agenda.
cuidado
So
es
the
el cuidado de
third
uno mismo.
care paradigm
Si
is the
uno se cuida a sí
self-care.
mismo,
If
el segundo
you
cuidado es
take care of
cuidar
yourself,
al cercano,
the
al
second
que está
is
al
to
lado.
take care from
Y
the
esa
other who is next
combinación
to
es
you, and that
importante.
combination is very to
Estar
be
seguro y estar
to be
tranquilo con uno
sure,
mismo,
to be
no
in
ser
peace with
tan duro
yourself,
con uno
not to
mismo a
be so
veces,
hard with yourself.
cuidar nuestra
Sometimes
salud
we need
mental
to take
y
care
con
of
eso
our
vamos a
mental
poder
health, and with
cuidar al que
that
está al
we
lado.
can take
Y
care
eso
of
sí, yo le quiero
others
decir,
to
si
the
yo
one
algo
next
le
to
diría a
us.
Raúl de
So I will
25
say
años es que
this to
tenga
Raúl from
más
25 years
cuidado
old:
con la
be
gente.
careful with people. That's a beauty message. Thank you, Luis Fernando. We're having a lot of questions, actually. The questions that I have right now is, it's probably a question from the business area. They say, where do you think we have the greater opportunities for the private sector to contribute for the development of a country?
Bueno, yo estoy notando, por ejemplo, que muchas de las empresas forestales
I'm
en el
realizing
Paraguay
that many of the forestry companies in Paraguay
empiezan a
start
certificarse.
to certify. What does it mean? They are they're getting into international model of standards and best practices. So many forestry companies that just pay very low salaries today. They are in order, they are paying the minimum wage, they are providing the social security system here in Paraguay, they have contracts, they have a system of protection. So I believe that a private company to truly develop to contribute to the development of a country, they need to use best practices. I think that the fact of using these best practices will generate new markets to that company. So let's say that it's part of a chain, a virtuous chain. If you treat better people, you are a better company. To having better company, you have better international national clients, you can demand better prices, and it is generated a virtuous chain, a value chain. So I think that a legal citizen are more useful, more efficient for the development of a country. Thank you very much. Continuing with the same line, there's someone that reminds that you were talking about Forestal Sylvis, and the question is, as you said, to have a value for the community, but as well for the company, and the environmental value for the activities that you are carrying out. And the question is, how you translate the idea to generate economic, social, and environmental value at the same time, how you can translate this idea in concrete decisions into an enterprise. Well, I mentioned before, the fact or not burning the garbage, for example, is a medium and long-term benefit for a company. The fact to the water accessibility into the land help us to protect this national park. The fact that this is a national park that is visited for more people, they come, they see the plantation, they watch it, and they say, I mean, I want to plant like this on another place. So it creates something. So it works together. And when you are genuine in the concept, people realize that. And I said, you need to be genuine. You do not need to do greenwashing. This is not just for for something you want to operate for people. You can look like someone, but people realize you need to live, you need to be authentic, you need to be genuine in what you are doing. And I think that private companies has a great benefit as well in their strategic plan or long-term plan, the fact that they are inserted in their community and their environment. And Fernando, we have another question, probably someone that makes Raúl, that is here inside. Raúl, you, Martin, Boer are dreaming projects, discussing ideas, and building institutions together. Few friendships can have a conversation about the future for so long. What did you learn from the friendship when you are at the service to a bigger cause than yourself? That's a beautiful question.
Hay tantas cosas que decir, pero yo
there's a lot to say, but I think that what maintained to us, Martin and myself together all of this time is not the creativity of Martin or things that we propose, but it's the capacity to say no to him. I always say to Martin, I make a joke, Martin is someone that works every day, all the time. So sometimes he can call me on Sunday morning and say to me, Chino, he calls me Chino, and he say, come, let's drink a tereré. Tereré is a national drinking, and I say to Martin, are we truly gonna drink a tereré or we are gonna work? Because if you are gonna work, I will not go Sunday morning with you. But if you are truly invite me to drink a tereré, yes. So I think there is an important dose of respect, gender, and as well that dose is to say no I don't think this is a good idea. That capacity to say that to your friends. And he hear my no, not as a angry no or a biased no. It's a real no. It's a respect no. And I believe that allows us to maintain for 55 years this friendship and this path, not always together, but we are moving in parallel with a lot of energy that is exchanging. And particularly to me, it was very useful because many of my beginnings are part for my friend, are due to my friend Martin. So we are closing, but I would love to ask you a question that I believe is important for the audience, that everything that includes the global Stoplight network. There is a lot of organization, from big organizations very well consolidated, that have very advanced sustainability models, to organizations that are small and they are starting to, or they do not have a plan to how to achieve this sustainability, and many intermediate organizations. So our conversation was a lot about sustainability, and which will be your advice for partners organization about sustainability and how to achieve an impact with the initiatives that they are driving. Well, actually, it's hard because, as you said in English, no, all the fits, it fits for everyone. There are different organizations, but I always remind to the organization that first they need to do their government body and their government elements, thinking that they are going to manage like $10,000 million, because when you have a small NGO and you are handling with the scarcity, nobody wants to care about that. But when you are handling important institutions that are handling a lot of money, we appears the opportunists and they try to take advantage of that money. We need to take care of that part. And something else that I always mention, and you as well mentioned, Fernando, we need to be social companies and generate social companies. Why? Because social companies that generate are the ones who are sustainable, the ones that only dedicate to spend the money of a donation or loan money from here and there and distribute it. That's an organization that only has expenditures, and we do not believe that this is sustainable. We need to generate real resources, we need to be creative, and we need to believe that every company, every social company, even though they are an NGO, is just simply a type of enterprise that should be sustainable. They need to manage the resources that came in and came out. You need to have a balance into this. So an NGO should be thinking and directed as a real company. So thank you very much, Raúl. Truly key what you explained to us. That's something that I learned a time ago for someone that trained to us to do the things good done in every sense. So it was a true pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us to dedicate 1 hour of your day. Thank you. Thank you to the public as well. I want to appreciate the team of the communication here from the Fundación Paraguaya, in behalf of the manager, Diana Ganegano, because she allowed us to be here in this study that we have in our headquarters. And just finalizing, we need to remind all the present that we still have 2 sessions today. Please check the agenda. We have the human-centered approach in the time of AI. This is an interview to Elio Kaduru for Care International. And the second session that we have is large language model to support poverty elimination. It will be led by Rob Crew and Stegma from Booster Polytechnic Institution. So thank you very much. See you next.